And another colleague shared how she does a lot of teaching online, and she said that she's scanning the faces on her screen to make sure that people are listening and engaged and doing stuff. And she said she can always tell if somebody is doing something else, when they're surreptitiously checking their emails or typing something. She said, I don't know, even if they're on mute, she says, I can tell that they're doing that. And again, it comes back to the etiquette of, the Zoom call. What is allowed, what isn't allowed. In many of my Zoom calls, I actually have two screens up too. So I'll have one screen for the main meeting, but I might be looking at some documents on the other screen. So, my face is moving from left to right, but hopefully that's seen as being okay because it's actually to do with the topic being discussed. But I think it does come down to it.
I think sometimes in my classes, what I've found is people will have their screen with what they're watching here, but their camera is on this one. And so it looks like they're not paying attention to you.
That's
when
true.
Actually, because we have these multi-screen lives now. But I think probably because they can then see themselves, they're aware that it looks like they're not paying attention. And I can imagine that that's like quite cognitively dissonant to go, I'm looking at you, but it doesn't look like I'm looking at you.
That's right. And the other thing that they pointed out was that it's actually quite unnatural to keep looking at somebody's face for a prolonged period of time. When we're in a natural conversation, if we were together in a coffee shop or in an office space or something like that, we're talking to each other and we'll be looking at each other, but we're not gazing directly into each other's eyes. Whereas on a Zoom call, you spend a lot more time doing that, partly because you want to show that you're paying attention. And you're wanting to sort of see what they're up to as well. But it puts a huge cognitive load on us, and that's what adds to the level of fatigue. And that's why I think it's important that part of the etiquette is giving ourselves permission to look away. I mean, part of the productivity thing is we know that if you're working in an office and you're tired because you've been working on a certain task for a while, is avert your gaze and look outside the window, particularly onto a green space, because that helps to restore your attention. And if we can get better at doing that in Zoom calls as well, that will probably help the fatigue. But there was a couple of other little sort of things that they discovered.
Yeah, what are some other things that people can do?
Okay, so other than taking a sort of regular little break, and I think it's part of sort of making the normal etiquette so that when you schedule your meetings in, you allow for that little break. And this is what somebody else was sharing with me yesterday. He said that when he sees that something is being sort of squeezed into a space, which isn't going to give him any sort of leeway between, he'll move something else, if possible. So that he frees up that little bit of a break time again. So he might have two things back to back, but he won't have any more than that. So he's able to take that space. I think the other thing is we've been, as you say, doing meetings in a certain way for an awful long time. And so often meetings are seen as a waste of time or too long. And why am I at this meeting again? It's just a meeting for the sake of a meeting. So I think it's a great opportunity to ask the question, why are we having all these meetings?